Hello, everybody. It's Thursday. It's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, which means I am live over on Bleacher Report. If I look a little disheveled currently, it's because I am. If I sound a little out of it, I've been taking pain medication today. We have a situation brewing at Slightly Biased headquarters. Here you go. Get a glimpse of this. Hurt my, I'm assuming, ankle yesterday at basketball, and today I'm growing more concerned that I've done something a little bit more serious to it. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow I'll take a trip to the doctor. I've thought I've ruled out torn Achilles, which was in my mind for a second, but it is hard to even scoot to my desk. So we're here, and we're going to talk about some Dallas Mavericks news. All is quiet, really, on the Mavs front. And that's just how they operate. We know that. I mean, we know that, right? They traded away Luka Doncic without anybody knowing. So we know that they're a quiet bunch, right? They're the polar opposite of the Phoenix Suns, who I have to say I hate. I hate the Phoenix Suns. I hate everything about the way that they operate. I hate the fact that we knew everything about their coaching search when there was like 9 finalists, right? We knew when each one got eliminated like it was an episode of Survivor. We know everything. We knew about the Kevin Durant secret trade negotiations that Kevin Durant didn't even know about. Like, somehow we knew all about it. And then, now we know Matt Ishbia stuff. I just hate everything about it. The pathetic Suns. They're so pathetic. I just wanted to go on a tangent about them. The Mavericks, we really don't know much. Like, it's kind of secret. So when you do hear something from a source that is plugged in, I would say Mark Stein, absolutely plugged in. Tim McMahon, say what you want about the man, plugged in. Myself, you say, I'm scared, guys. I'm scared that I tore my Achilles. I don't know what to tell you guys. I am. I don't think I did. Right? Well, I mean, I don't think I did, but it's in the back of my mind 24/7 right now. But when Tim McMahon says something like this, you guys can't see me anymore. I'm going ghost. I'm going to be a VTuber from here on out. Actually, why can you guys not see me? There you go. So when Tim McMahon says something like this, your ears start to perk up a little bit, right?
Suggest or any of that J Kidd is looking to get out of Dallas. I think that would be not an accurate or fair thing to say.
Okay, so the very end of the clip makes it completely null and void. I hadn't watched the video yet, but I saw Tim McMahon's on the idea of the Knicks getting Jason Kidd from the Mavericks. I would not dismiss that possibility. He adds it would be going too far to think Kidd wants out, but there have been some franchise decisions that he wasn't on board with. So this is becoming, I hear this and I perk up a little bit because this is becoming a thing a little bit where it was reported that the Knicks want Jason Kidd. I even saw some reports today, and I don't know, I know who's reputable for the Mavs. I can't say with absolute certainty I know which reporters are really reputable for other teams. I know Gambo's very reputable for the Suns. I want to say it's Ian Begley. Is that his name? Ian something along those lines. I'm sorry. Is pretty reputable for it's an Ian something. Is pretty reputable for the Knicks. But I did see some Knicks stuff. Again, I don't know how accurate it is that Kidd was number 1 on their list, which is obviously somewhat interesting. My stance on Jason Kidd, have I called for Kidd to be fired in the past? I have called for Kidd to be fired in the past. But I don't want to fire him. And I actually go as far as to say, I think him leaving at this point would actually be pretty bad for the Mavericks. Sure, there's guys out there, and you'll point to some of these championship-winning head coaches that are available on the market. Like immediately people will go to Michael Malone. You'll even hear people say, well, what about, holy shit, what's the guy's name who just got fired? I'm on edge, guys. I'm a little pissed off because of this ankle situation. Who is it that just got fired from the Grizzlies? Oh, my God. Taylor Jenkins. Him, I don't know. I think it's kind of, you want to get ahead of this stuff pretty early if you're firing a coach. And would it be funny if the Mavs traded coaches with the Knicks? Like Tom Thibodeau became the coach of the Mavs and Jason Kidd the coach of the Knicks. So this is a pretty decently big storyline that we're now following. And just the nature of coaching changes and stuff like that. We'll have our answer in the coming days, I'd have to imagine. You don't want to wait around for a coaching decision. So the Knicks will figure it out in a few days. And we'll get a little bit more about this. But this makes me perk up a little bit. Even if the Knicks go somewhere else, which I'd have to bet they do. Even if the Knicks do go somewhere else, it's interesting to me that this is something that's even worthy of a conversation. And it's also interesting to me that we're having this conversation about Jason Kidd, that, hey, there's some stuff about Kidd that makes you think he could maybe want to move on, right? So just keep an eye on this. Say what you want about Kidd. I know a lot of people are upset about him. I know a lot of Mavs fans call for him to be fired. I think he's done a good job. I really do. I know he's missed the playoffs in 2 of his 4 years here. I think you can write off this past season as just the season from hell, nightmarish season. And throughout the entire season, I kept saying this, throughout the entire season, I never felt as though the Mavs gave up. I never felt as though they rolled over, even though nobody would have blamed them if they did. So I give props to the coach for that. That's a coach thing. So I give props to Kidd on that front. That's the situation there. It's quite interesting, to say the least. Now, in terms of just some other stuff, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of a boring sort of speculative season for the Mavs, right? They're always a very interesting team. They're always, any transaction window, whether it's the trade deadline or the offseason, the Mavs are always doing something, and usually doing something somewhat sizable. I mean, tracking back years since Nico got here, really, they've always done something pretty big, whether that's at the trade deadline or in the offseason. And I expect that to be the case. I mean, they have a glaring need at the guard position, right? And a team that wants to contend for a championship is probably going to do something pretty sizable in an effort to plug that hole with someone who could help them win now. But I have no idea what it is. Like, the draft, there's not really much room for speculation there. They're going to take Cooper Flagg first overall. That's the end of that. ESPN ran an article this week. What would a first overall pick package look like? The trade for the first overall pick. It ain't happening. They're drafting Cooper Flagg. That's the end of that, right? So there's not a lot of fun in talking about draft speculation there, because we know it's going to happen. The other stuff is trades. And I don't know. I have no idea what their line of thinking is right now. I have no idea if it's, let's go out and get a Kobe White. Let's go out and get an Anthony Simons. Let's go out and get a Drew Holiday. Let's get one of the top tier of realistically available guards. Like, those are the top tier of realistically available guards, if you're just being honest with yourselves, right? Or is it going to be more, let's bring Exum back and maybe we'll plug the hole with like a DeAnthony Melton or something? Could that be an option? I don't know. That's the thing. I have no clue, and I don't think anybody does outside of the Mavericks. I don't think anyone does. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a boring speculative season right now. But I say all of that to say this: they'll do something. That much is certain. Okay. And one of the guys who was a possibility was, of course, Chris Paul. I was kind of hesitant on it. The more I thought about the Chris Paul stuff, the more I thought, yeah, he'll probably end up in an LA team. And some of the stuff he said recently points towards that being a much more realistic possibility. And in fact, what I expect to happen. Chris Paul and his family live in LA, and it sounds like he wants to end his career in LA. I talked to my family about it. My son is 16. My daughter is 12. The past 6 seasons I've lived without them. I've been away from them the last 6 years. That's the conversation. So, you know, this came from the Pat McAfee. Great show. I love the Pat McAfee show. It's so good and so entertaining and so high quality. It's actually one of the best things that's on television right now, full stop. The only thing that it's behind, in my opinion, is First Take, whenever they turn conversations about fired head coaches into geopolitical conversations. But actually, and then a distant third, is anything Barstool Sports does. I love anything that El Presidente has to say. It's just so entertaining and riveting always. So anyways, with that being said, there was also a quote from the Pat McAfee show that Chris Paul has already worked with Cooper Flagg quite a bit this summer, and that he is the real deal. So yeah, I don't know. Read into that what you will. I struggle to think, if one of the LA teams wants him, which why wouldn't they if he's signing a vet minimum, that he wouldn't end up going there. It just makes the most sense. Sure, the Mavericks could offer him a starting spot. Sure, the Mavericks can say, hey, for the first 30, 40 games this season, you will be our starting point guard, no questions asked. Maybe that's appealing to him, playing alongside AD, playing alongside Cooper Flagg, who he already has a relationship with, on a team that wants to be good and wants to contend. But, you know, there's something about this quote right here that tells me there's not much reason to speculate about this, because this is telling. If a guy says, hey, I'm old, my kids are getting old, and I want to spend time with them, They live in Los Angeles. Do the math, okay? So that's what we have there on the Chris Paul front. That was a guy that we talked about pretty in depth for a while. I would say that's, I wouldn't necessarily say it's off the table entirely, but it's in the kitchen. We'll just say that. It's in the kitchen, and it's about to be 86th, okay? Or 68. What is it? I don't know. Again, my brain is foggy right now, guys. I'm really going through it. So I thought, why not have a conversation about potential trades? And I hate to do this. We know next to nothing about who's going to be available. The first thing that I'm most interested about, right? I'm confident they'll bring Kyrie Irving back. The thing I'm interested about, though, is are they going to play any games with that? Are they going to risk going to Kyrie and saying, hey, man, look, you're 32 years old. You have an ACL tear that you're recovering. You're not going to play for the first half of the season. And you know how this stuff goes with smaller guards. Like, it's a pretty sizable risk for us just to give you a max contract. Why don't we talk it down a little bit? We'll still make you, we'll still give you tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. But let's chill out on the $40-50 million a year talk. Is that all right? Do you risk that conversation and the potential response from Kyrie Irving being no, and now I'm upset that you even said that to me? Or do you just go to him and give him what he wants? That's one of the things I'm very interested in seeing at the start of this offseason. The other thing I'm most interested about is what is the Daniel Gaffford conversation going to look like? Because the PJ one, I feel pretty good they'll extend him. He's just the type of player that you will have a role on the team really no matter what. He's the type of player almost every single team in the league is looking for. And even if there is a log jam, and even if come February or maybe next offseason, you're like, we got to move some guys around. He's a guy you could easily trade then, even on a new contract. So I think they signed him, and I don't think there's much debate about it. Gaffford is the most interesting one to me. And I have said, if Nico Harrison were to step down from GM and I were to be hired, first thing I would say is congratulations, Patrick Dumont, on the first good decision you've made. You won't regret this. I'm going to lead this team to the promised land. You guys have seen my NBA 2K series, right? When we did this, I mean, we were a dynasty. We were winning rings and securing the number one overall pick. It was remarkable what we were accomplishing. But one of the first things I would do outside the Kyrie Irving stuff is have a conversation with Gaffford, because I do think there's upside in bringing Gaffford back and even extending him, right? Because similar to like I said with PJ, like, yeah, logjam. Yeah, do we really want to pay who in theory is our third? And here's this right now. Who is this? Who's Ari Report? Never mind. I'm sorry, I just got sidetracked. It was about Chris Paul going back to the Clippers. You never know. You got to sort through the real and the fake at this time of the year. They're even, paying your third string center, which in theory, that's what Gaffford is. Lively's going to start when he's healthy. Start alongside AD. And in closing lineups or in lineups over the course of the game, and especially closing lineups, when the team's only going to go one center, that's going to be Anthony Davis. So you're basically paying money for a third string center that's coming off the bench. Now there's, with the way the cap works, the new CBA, there's a lot of conversations as to whether or not that's even worth it. And to that, I would reply, probably not. But the Mavs have a unique situation where Derek Lively, call it what it is, it's been a couple freak injuries, but he hasn't been healthy, right? He's played, 80 games total, I think, through his first 2 seasons in the league. That's not cutting it. That's 50% of the games, right? Anthony Davis, we know, not the picture of health, right? Constantly dealing with something, constantly injured. So there is value to be had in having a guy like Daniel Gaffford ready to go, ready to step in and ready to be, at the very worst, a league average starting center, which teams will pay a lot of money for. And that's the problem. I know Gaffford came out and, on his Discord server, which, by the way, I nuked my Discord server yesterday. I completely and totally deleted it. Hadn't logged onto it in months, and it was completely dead, besides porn bots that were flooding it for some reason. What's the deal there? I'm not entirely sure. But, okay, yeah, whatever. We know that Gaffford said that he he pushed back on the reports that he wanted starter money and he wanted to go to somewhere where he could start. And I applaud Gaffford for that. But look, the reality is, if I were the GM, I just got hired, one of the first things I would tell Gaffford is, look, man, Like I'm gonna be real. You deserve starter money. You're one of the better centers in the NBA. It just so happens you're playing on a team that has two very, very good centers. And Derek Lively, who is the future of our team in a lot of ways with Cooper Flagg, and Anthony Davis. Like, it's just this weird a team that went from having no center depth whatsoever to having the best center depth in the entire association. You know, like, you deserve a paycheck. You deserve to get good minutes. Like, there's nothing wrong in saying that. Any conversation about Gaffford potentially being traded has nothing to do really with the quality of player Gaffford is, or even the fact, like, I want Gaffford traded. No, in a perfect world, you'd keep him. But just with the way the CBA is, and you paying guys, you know, if Gaffford wants $20+ million, that makes no sense for the Mavs whatsoever. And he now becomes one of your better trade pieces. So I've, we've tossed around fake Gaffford trades. There was one that was going around recently that made me almost spit out my drink, and it was the Knicks, and I almost want to say it was from Knicks people, not even Mavs people. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was a trade that involved Daniel Gaffford headed to the Knicks with Mikal Bridges, Daniel Gaffford and stuff, to the Knicks for Mikal Bridges. Now, immediately I would say, why on earth would the Knicks do that? Like, why the hell would New York say yes to that? That essentially means that you would be trading. That essentially means that you traded 5 first-round picks for Gaffford, right? I guess if you want to think of a reason, would be because Mikal's coming up on a contract extension, and when you're paying OG, you're going to pay Brunson, you're going to pay Cat, you're going to pay all of these guys. It might not be worth that much money. Here it is. I found it. The Mikal Bridges trade. Yeah, this was an article about the Knicks. I don't know if this was a Knicks fan or not. The Knicks received Daniel Gaffford and Caleb Martin. The Mavs received Mikal Bridges. It's a horrible trade. It's a terrible trade. But you see trades like this, and it does make you think, like, what exactly is the trade value for one Daniel Gaffford? Now, you know that we've cooked up some. I cooked up this one a second ago. We've cooked up Daniel Gaffford trades. This one, to me, remains my favorite one that I've seen. Yes, it just so happens that I'm the one who's done it. But this one remains my favorite one. Atlanta needs a center. They have 2 first-round picks, one of them 22nd overall. This helps the Mavs tremendously with the salary cap, and it also gives them a first-round pick in this draft. I think it makes all the sense in the world. The Hawks have a trade exception that they could absorb Daniel Gaffford into. You could keep Okongwu even, and you'd still have just an unbelievably great lob threat to pair alongside one of the best pick-and-roll ball handlers and one of the best lob passers in the league in Trayford Young. So I think that this remains one of my favorite ones, and it would be one of the first conversations I had on the phone with somebody if I were the GM of the Dallas Mavericks, which a lot of people say I should be. Can we address that? A lot of people say that I should be head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. That's up for you to decide whether or not that's true. I also cooked up this trade. Tell me what you guys think about this. So KD's going to get traded. I don't know. Just ignore the picks. I don't know what the picks would be. But is there a way where the Mavs could weasel their way in here and scoop up someone like Mike Conley? The Mavs, the way the salary stuff works, I believe what it is right now is they can absorb $300,000 more than they're sending out. So this trade, while it says success, is very complicated, and I don't think it would work in its current structure. Maybe you tack on another team and do a salary dump or something along those lines. But could the Mavs swoop in here to get Mike Conley, who's a grandfather, who has lost a step, and who is washed? Let's just be 100% honest with ourselves here. But he's got 1 year left on his deal, $10 million. Someone who's an adult, a veteran, a good point guard, like a legitimate floor general captain to have to set up Anthony Davis and to, let Cooper Flagg learn the ropes playing off of, and someone who you could just, seamlessly slide into the bench whenever Kyrie Irving returns. So I think this is something I'm a little bit interested in. If there is a Kevin Durant to the Timberwolves scenario, that plays out. Could the Mavs sort of weasel their way in to? I think that's the best pathway for the Mavs to get a point guard via trade this offseason, is to weasel their way into a bigger deal, which, by the way, sounds as if all indications so far that it's going to be a crazy offseason. I saw a clip today of Windhorst basically saying that teams around the league, here's the Brian Windhorst on Threads. Wait, Threads still exists? Threads? That wasn't like a 1 week thing? Okay. Shout out to Threads. I thought for sure Threads was dead. Threads dead, baby. People think this offseason is going to be crazy. I'm talking to teams. There's way more chatter on trade discussions. So, is there a pathway where Giannis gets traded somewhere and the Mavs can kind of weasel their way in to get a guard that's moving in the deal? I don't know what that looks like. You think about the teams that could be interested. There's not a lot of guys that are making money that makes sense for Dallas. Like, if he ends up going to Houston, well, Fred VanVleet, he's making $40 million. Good luck getting that in salary. Jalen Green, $30 million. Good luck scrapping together $30 million. Also, Spurs, Vassell in the 20s, mid-20s contract, I believe, even high 20s, I think, and not really what you're looking for necessarily. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But piggybacking on bigger trades is, I think, how the Mavs can figure out their guard problem. And we've done creative ones, right? Like, we've had some creative trades, like this, for example. Let's say the Mavs or the Lakers make a big play for a center, and they go out and they get, like, the Cavs are just thinking to themselves, this big four, we should break it up. And they trade Jared Allen to the Lakers, and the Mavs can swoop in this type of deal and maybe get an Austin Reeves in return, right? And now, who says no in this deal? We've discussed this one, but who said no? Who says no in this deal? Jared Allen to the Lakers, Austin Reeves to the Mavericks, PJ Connect and a first to the Cavs. That ain't half bad. Maybe the Mavs have to tack on a pick. I don't know. But that kind of makes some sense to me in a way. Right? Maybe the Lakers say no. I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm really not sure. We've done all of the different Celtics iterations of these type of trades, but it's almost like, do you guys feel this way? It's almost like suspiciously quiet across the NBA right now. And I know it's not even the offseason yet, but we know there are huge, gigantic dominoes that are waiting to fall in KD getting traded, in the potential Giannis saga. Everything feels too still. It feels too still. And this shit's about to hit the fan because the draft is, I think now, less than 3 weeks away. I think we're 20 days away from the draft. If I'm the Bucks, Giannis needs to tell me what he wants to do between now and then. That way, I'm talking to a team, hey, I want to go to the Spurs. Great. All right, Spurs, let's talk. You have multiple picks in this year's draft. Let's figure out what picks are coming to us so we can figure out who we need to be scouting, who we need to be having meetings with. I want to go to the Rockets. Great. The Rockets have picks in this year's draft that we probably want. We need to talk to them. We need to figure out, all right, who we need to be interviewing in these drafts. Who do we need to be working out? All of this stuff. The Mavs have the number 1 overall pick. Do we need to be talking to... I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. So that this shit is about to hit the fan. Majorly. Also, if I'm the Suns, like, Kevin Durant's probably not fetching you a ginormous return, at least in terms of trade compensation. But we have seen reports that's Phoenix's number 1 priority right now is getting their picks back. So if I'm them, I'm wanting this situation resolved between now and the draft. That's 20 days away. So these things are going to move quickly. Also, just kind of considering how the Mavs operate, it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to make their moves prior to the draft and prior to drafting Cooper Flagg. That way they can just kind of, in one fell swoop, do the introductory press conference for Flagg. You got whatever guard you picked up there as well, and you just kind of move on. And also, I think there's a world in which the Mavericks want to maybe get another pick in this draft. I think that's potentially on the table as well, even before the lucky miracle, which was the Mavericks winning the lottery. Even before then, Nico Harrison made it a point to say that they were going to build through the draft, that was going to be something that they were doing this year, would be fleshing out some needs through the draft. Now you got incredibly lucky to get the first overall pick, but I think there are avenues for you to take on more draft capital in this year's draft, whether that's in a Gaffford trade, maybe that's in a PJ trade, or hey, maybe I've seen these mock trades thrown around. And like, for example, I forgot who did it, but I saw one. It was Omax for a Nets pick, a Nets first. The Nets just absorb Omax. I'm not really sure that's, Omax was what, the 22nd overall pick a couple years ago. I can't imagine his value is still a first round pick. I mean, I love the guy and I wish him the best, but I can't imagine a team's like, yeah, we'll do it. We'll trade a first round pick for Omax. But hey, maybe there's a team out there that looks at Jaden Hardy's like, yeah, Jaden Hardy's on like a decent deal. Would we rather have the 26th pick in this draft or just take the commodity that we kind of know who he is in Jaden Hardy and plug him in? There's a bunch of different avenues there and pathways. And again, if I'm the Mavs, similar to the Bucks and similar to the Suns, obviously very different, but if I'm with those two teams, I need to know what I'm doing very quickly. If I'm the Mavs, it's kind of similar. I want to know the direction I'm headed in. I need to know. I want to know, really, are there trade avenues that make sense for us to pursue now? And if the answer to that question is no, then we have to be prepared to do our work for these veteran guards that are going to go quickly in free agency, right? Like, you're not in the market for a 15th guy. You're in the market for a guy who, in theory, can plug into your starting lineup for the first 4 months of the season and then could either A, play alongside Kyrie when Kyrie comes back, or B, be essentially the sixth man of the team once Kyrie returns. And those guys aren't available in September, okay? Those guys aren't available in August, okay? Those are guys that you need to swoop up fairly quickly in free agency, the Chris Pauls of the world. I even think a guy like DeAnthony Melton, who, could be somebody the Mavericks go after. He's going to be somebody with a market of teams that are interested in him. Schroeder, if for whatever reason the Pistons look elsewhere and Schroeder's on the market, he's somebody that teams will be lining up for. So I'm saying all of that to say this. It's incredibly quiet right now. It's incredibly still, just across the NBA. We're hearing rumblings, the Suns. Everything the Suns do is public information. I hate it. We know that KD's probably getting traded, and we know the Spurs are probably going to be involved. The Rockets, but it sounds like the Spurs are really involved, which is interesting. But everything is just still right now, and I think it's going to be a madhouse before the draft, in the days leading up to the draft. I think it's going to be insanity, and I will not be here. I won't be here. Your binky won't be here, guys. I hate to tell you, your binky will hopefully be in Europe. I'm saying hopefully, because I don't know with this foot situation. I mean, if it's a worst case scenario thing, which, knock on wood, let's hope it's not. But god damn, I'm in pain, folks. Oh, I'm in pain. Oh! Oh! That actually hurt. That actually hurt pretty bad. Who knows? I might not be able to go. Anyways, this is a big time rambling session, but the Mavs winning the draft the draft lottery. Obviously, we're incredibly pumped, but it has taken a lot of the intrigue of the draft off the table for me. I'm not somebody who really sits down and scouts draft prospects. We'll do it for fun, but I'm not someone who does it seriously. I'll read up on other people's draft analysis and go from there. There's nothing to read up on now besides Cooper Flag stuff. We're not debating. Well, no, I don't think it should be Jace Richardson. No, it should. We're not having that debate. It's Cooper Flag, and that's the end of it. That's the end of the discussion. I'm honestly happy about that. I really am. Thank God. Thank God it's boring, right? Seriously. All right, guys. Bleach Report. Thank you for having me. If you're following me on YouTube, I'm not sure. Not sure what the stream schedule is going to look like. I'm not lying when I say it's like a struggle maneuvering out of my bed. So this is a fucking nightmare, to put it lightly. It's a nightmare. Okay. Bleach Report. Thank you for having me every Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time here. I got 2 more shows before I'm hopefully in Europe. 2 more shows before the draft. We're going to do, I want to do a full offseason simulation. I don't know if that'll be next Thursday or the Thursday after. My perfect offseason. Okay, I'm the GM of the team. Here's what I've done. And I'll lay it out for you guys. All right. Love you all. You know I do. Guys, I need your thoughts. I need your thoughts.